The NFL draft is done and over, and I am going to be breaking down each and every team and grading out their draft. So check back every day, because one team I will do every single day, and I'll have it up here on YouTube for you to watch. We'll go over every prospect that they drafted, as well as some key undrafted free agents that they may bring in. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I'll be sure to address them for you. Also, just be aware on my draft grades, no one fails the draft, especially right after it. Even no one in this draft is going to get a D or an F from me, because everyone had a talent. Everyone did something. So if you think the grades are a little bit high, that's just me not going to too much extremes. And maybe in 3 or 4 years, when we look back on this draft, then we can see who really succeeded and who really failed. So sit back, relax, enjoy me as I break down every single team this year. The draft expert, Shane Hallam, shows off his knowledge. Writing mock drafts, prospects from the best college. Breaking down tape, he might develop a man crush. Tearing up guys, taking questions in a rush. Comparisons, learning lessons, Shane saves the day, oy vey. Hulk or Banner, doesn't matter. Listen, cause here's who can play. Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers. And they had a pretty good draft. They had a very interesting draft. 2 first-round picks, which always helps your grade a little bit. And their first pick, they traded up slightly for Anthony Davis, offensive tackle out of Rutgers. I like this player. He has some major work ethic issues that we saw in the offseason. And if those work themselves out, then I think this can be an excellent pick. He can play right tackle, he can play left tackle, protect the quarterback, be a good run grader. He really has the best film of any offensive tackle in this draft. I mean, he is dominant on tape, so you got to like getting him in the middle of round 1. I like that pick. And the 49ers continue to address their offensive line in the first with Mike Iupati, offensive guard from Idaho. I like that as well. He's a very good offensive guard, an instant starter at left guard. That's his primary position. Similar to Alan Faneca, he fits one place, that's where he's going to stick. And he can knock guys down. He's decent in pass protection. So I really like Mike Iupati. I think the 49ers have gone from a poor offensive line, or at least a mediocre offensive line, to a very good offensive line with this draft. Joe Staley is very good, and I really like what San Francisco did there. In the second, they got Taylor Mays, safety out of USC. High upside player. Some people thought he may go in the first round because he is big and he is fast. And he's not great in coverage, not very good in terms of tackling technique, but he has high upside. And we saw 2 years ago when he had a good defense around him, he was able to make plays, he's able to make big hits, jar balls loose. But we also saw this past year when he didn't have a great defense around him, try to do too much, got caught out of position at times, but he can catch up with players. He's a good in-the-box safety. You play him close to the line, you see what he can do, let him read the quarterback, punish those receivers that go over the middle, and punish running backs that get close to him. I think that's how you have to use him. Now, I wonder the fit, because they have Sean Goldson, who's a very good safety there right now, who plays that role for them. How do they use these two guys in conjunction? We will see. In the third, they got Navorro Bowman, linebacker from Penn State, a guy that's going to probably play inside in the 3-4 next to Patrick Willis. This was a hole on their defense. I think they got Bowman, who has some off-the-field issues, as well as some issues with his tackling technique and how he plays the game. He's good upside. He's pretty good at rushing the passer as well, which is something that you can definitely use from an inside linebacker in a 3-4, though that shouldn't be the primary goal. He's not exactly a thumper, but he can get sideline to sideline, and I think he can kind of clean up what Patrick Willis doesn't, and I think it'll be a nice fit for them. Also pretty good in coverage, I forgot to mention, which I think is really where they're going to use him. In the sixth, then, their next pick, they got Anthony Dixon, running back out of Mississippi State. I'm not a huge fan of Anthony Dixon. I understand the pick. Frank Gore's a little bit injury prone. Glenn Coffey last year was a wasted pick. Didn't do very well. Anthony Dixon, someone that's not going to give you much more than going between the tackles. His vision isn't great. Sometimes he gets caught behind a guard or so and doesn't pick up the yardage that he can, but he always falls forward. So I like him as a player who can get a shot. You know, he's going to get a shot in a couple years. Frank Gore's contract's going to be up soon, so we'll see what happens with that. Also in the 6th, they got Nate Byham, tight end out of Pitt. Nate Byham is a pure blocking tight end. He's your number 2 next to Vernon Davis. Get him in there, help with the pass protection, help with the run blocking. That's what he's going to be used for. Then in the 6th, they got Kyle Williams, a return specialist, who I think will have a shot at competing with Ted Ginn for some of the return duties there in San Francisco. Not going to give you much more past that. More of a special teams player. So if he doesn't win the return job, we'll see if he makes the team. Then the last pick was Phillip from South Carolina State. Cornerback, small school guy. You know, he has big playability. He's very athletic. He gets the interceptions. He returns them for touchdowns. Also a return specialist. So I think they're kind of biding their time with that. Overall, I give the San Francisco 49ers an A. Look, you addressed your offensive line. I mean, you knocked it out of the park, got the best offensive linemen in this draft. That's an instant upgrade to an offense that needed it. They continued with that, getting high upside players like Taylor Mays, like Navorro Bowman. So I like this draft as a whole. I think it's something that can add to it. Yeah, they have to progress Bowman. They have to progress Taylor Mays, and they have to make sure that he can do what he needs to do. But I think for this draft as a whole, it's something that's going to help the 49ers immediately and in the future. And that's what you can ask for, just when you have 2 first-round picks. Usually what's going to happen. So I like the draft.